Hello YouTube, this is Charlie426, and today we have the review of the 1:35 scale model kit of the Vincent. Yes, this is a Bandai model kit. This is actually a model kit, and this was made in 2008. So, to some people that might be considered old, but to me, I don't think that it's considered that old. But I started building this last night, and it was a very fun build, very solid build, and I am impressed because being a 2008 kit, it's very articulated, very solid build. I see very small issues with this model kit. Of course, in terms of like the quality, it's really good, but there are some missing elements regarding the model kit itself. But other than that, it is a great build. So, yesterday I reviewed and uploaded the robot Damashi version of the Vincent. Now this is the actual model kit. So basically, similar to Gunpla, and this is 1:35 scale. And the best way I can explain this is like an HG level kit. I would like to mention that. Alright, so before we start the review, let's go on with our basic routine on the components. So first of all, what you get, of course, is the obvious Knightmare frame Vincent itself. You get two open hands that's currently on the model kit. And then we get a couple of land spinners on the feet. And then we get the MVS swords that are actually stored in the wing binders over there, as you can see. So, other than that, what you're supposed to get is, number one, a figure of Rollo, the fake little brother of Zero at Season 2, I believe. So, yeah, he has arms, it's just that he is a very skinny character, and then just to his pose, he may look like he doesn't have any arms, but yeah, just overall, the geass characters are just skinny overall. And then here we have the handles for the swords. So, we give two multi-purpose hands to hold the swords, and then we get we actually get two of the handles for the standard swords, and then we get this handle of the combined swords to make it into its spear mode. And yes, the hands do actually have a hold and peg system, as you can see in there, so the weapons do not actually wobble around, so that's actually a good thing. Same goes for the small hands. We can see they are actually pretty connected. Sometimes if you rotate the hand, the connection might can fall off, but it's not that bad. Here's the peg system going on, so the hold is actually on the hand, so just letting you know. Of course, the hands are very different from a Gundam hand, where you would usually expect the peg to be on the weapon. On the weapon, and then, I think I should take this part if I can, but the hand structure is very different from modern hands, so I think I should just mention that. Okay, and then some leftover parts. So first of all, number one is this. This part is not actually used right away unless you buy either the commander type of the Vincent, or you buy the the Lancelot Gunquesta 1:35 scale kit. And then if you want to use its air cavalry backpack, this is what you actually use to connect it onto the kit. So I'll show you guys where you're supposed to connect it, but other than that, for now, you can't use this. And then here we have some leftover polycaps. Nothing too special. And then finally we have a repeat of this because we get two of the same plates, which is why we get another pair. So in case you broke yours, you can always use this. And finally we have a sticker sheet. Now, I know the 1:35 scale Lancelot model kit is very famous for its sticker hell. Now this one isn't actually that bad. Now the Guren actually had two stickers, if I remember correctly, or maybe one, but this one has a little bit more, but they're not too bad. Number one is the eyes, which is fine. Number two is the blue orb section that's on the V-fin, which is fine. Now these ones were kind of unexpected. Now these are the red sections for the /harken that's on the sides. But the reason I didn't use this because I colored the parts using a red Gundam marker, and it worked totally fine. So it's not, now you don't really need to use these. Alright, so let's get on to the review. So I'll do the comparison last, but yeah. Okay, we're gonna get off this thing. Now, as you can see, the land spinners are on the ground because for some reason this thing it doesn't really stand on its own properly, so I'm gonna just show you guys right away. I'm gonna take away the land spinners, and for some reason, just because of that aspect, the feet are having trouble standing on its own. So you can see it's like, I don't know what's going on, but basically it just has some hard time standing on its own. So which is why I'm going to put the land spinners on the ground. Now I would like to mention the Robot Damashi version while it didn't feel too stable, it was still able to stand on its own without the land spinners. Okay, so let's go on with the articulation. So let's see. Let me just adjust the camera. So first we have the head. So as I mentioned, that blue section on the V-fin, and then the eyes are a sticker. So that's totally fine by my book. And as you can see, the overall the color of the kit, the parts or the plastic is kind of have this glossy color going on, with like the guren. While the guren was being red, like the red sections like this would actually still show pretty well with that part, but the yellow part not so well. But still, you can still see that. And the gold, now this is technically has to be gold color, but even in the show it wasn't really the same gold color level as the Lancelot, but more darker. So this color may seem accurate to some people, while others not so much. So it really depends on the person. Okay, so let's talk about the head articulation. Now, being a 2008 kit, I'm very impressed. So it can go. So the neck joint is actually plastic, so keep that in mind. It doesn't go down that much. Actually, this is as far as it go, and then up pretty well. And then 360 twist. Well, I want to, but it's not really going. So it's getting like collided by all the other sections on the neck area. So yeah. And then let's talk about the shoulders first. Now the shoulders, they are on I believe now these sections are actually on pegs. So but there's actually a polycap connection inside the main body, which is why it allows the shoulder to move a little bit left and, forward and backward, but not so much, but still there. And then the arms can move about 90 degrees to the side, and then have a nice, well, actually it may not. Now you can go 360, but it really depends on where you need to force it. So okay, technically I would say more of a 270 degree, because the shape of the armor on this section here is not exactly round. So, and then there's this red section that's actually colliding, which is why you can't really go 360 unless you have this other movement going on here. So yeah, so it can't really go this way, but to the other side it can go no problem, but not 360. And then the shoulders itself, they do move a bit. Okay, so, and then the arms are actually pretty nice. They can go, it's like a double jointed bend, so that's a very good movement. And your hands are your typical ball jointed hands, as I just showed you guys with the multi-purpose hands. Of course, if there's slightly an issue, I would say it would be this thing, because there's a huge gap inside the hand. I don't know why, but it feels like they were supposed to be a piece, but oh well, they just didn't do it. Okay. And then all these red and gray and yellow, gold, those are all separate pieces. So I'm very impressed by that. Okay, so let's look at the backpack. So at the back, well, I wouldn't say this being an actually backpack. This is actually the main pilot section. But before that, we have these parts, the wing binders that are actually connected to ball joints, so they have no problem moving at all. And then the way how you're supposed to take out the MVS swords. Now, according to the manual, that you have to do something. You have to like push it back. You have to push it in or out, and then you have to wiggle it out, and then boom. That's how you're supposed to take it out. But keep in mind, if you're going to use this sword, you have to actually take this gray section out and then reattach it to the actual handle that's meant for the, sword. So in that case, if you're just annoyed by the, pushing it back in and then like while wiggling it out, so you can just pull the gray section out and then use it if you want to do so. Of course, that yellow part will be still in there, but I don't think that's a really big problem. But since we did take this out, I'll just take this out. And then at the back, we can open this section like the Robo Damashi version. While the Robo Damashi version, of course, if you open the back section, the chair does also come out, but this one doesn't. The main reason is that, well, I think they could have done it, but if you take this part out, it reveals the pilot. Yes, there's actually a pilot in here. So it's all white. Now connecting the pilot arms and then the arms to the cockpit like controlling section was not easy, but it still works. And then that leftover piece was actually supposed to go, I believe, in front of here, like this small gap around here, to connect the Air Cavalry backpack, or the Gunquesta backpack, whatever they call that. Now I do want to get that kit someday, but I'm just too scared about those stickers. But maybe I'll try to think of something. Okay, so now let's look at the main body. Now the main body is okay. Of course, I don't think it has an ab crunch. It does not have an ab crunch. So, well, 2008 kit, and then the main body is actually connected to a peg. So you would think that it would be able to go 360, but keep in mind the shape. It's not a flat shape. It's actually a roundish shape, which is why the body does not move 360, but it can only move about 5 degrees or 10 degrees to the side. So if you're gonna move it, you're gonna have to like pull the thing out a little bit and make it move more. But yeah, that's pretty much it. But thanks to that aspect, it does have more stability, because the Robot Damashi version, that part was actually feeling a little bit loose. And then okay, so now let's look at the legs slash slides. Now here are the slash harkens. They are just connected to a peg, of course not your typical peg, but you get the idea. And then this red section you see on the slash harken, those are the parts that you're supposed to use stickers, but I decided to just color that using a Gundam red marker. So it's a very easy color area, so no need to worry about that. And then the legs do have side swivels. And then, yes, they are connected to ball joints. So the legs can go 90 degrees up front. Oh yeah, also the arm can go 360 if you want to do so. And then you have now the bend is very tight, and I don't think it can go more than this. So you only have like a 90-degree bend going on here, so don't force it. You don't want to break anything. The joints may feel very tight, so if it's too tight for your taste, you might want to sand the main connecting peg down a little bit. Not too much, but a little bit to make it feel more, safe. And then we have a nice ball jointed feet. I really do love the color separation they did with the feet, and then the glossy color does give out a very nice vibe. And then I believe there is a little bit of toe bend, and then the front part of the feet does move about left and right a little bit like that. And then the land spanners do move up and down. Problem is, the connection is a little bit too strong to the point where only this part is supposed to move, but that square section may move a bit because that part is also connected to a peg. So be careful. Because if you move it too much, you might actually twist the peg. So once again, if you're feeling unsafe, sand it a little bit down. And unlike now, this function, as far as I know, should not be present in the Vincent. Oh boy, okay, let me just get this thing down. Okay, now this function is not supposed to be in the Vincent, as far as I know. Even in the anime and the art, the official arts, the drawing art styles for the Vincent, I've seen them, and I don't think I remember actually seeing this. But basically, this is just to make sure the land spinner can move in multiple angles, and it helps out with poses. But I don't think this is supposed to be here. Just saying. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but just kind of interesting gimmick going on here. Now I believe the Lancelot had something like this, but that thing actually can go all the way forward, which I actually do have something similar to the Lancelot and Robot Damashi, which you guys will see soon, not next week. Okay, now we've seen all the basics. I think we've seen all the basics. Now let's talk about the equipment. So equipment wise, as mentioned, you get the handles. Number one, we get this one. So here's the problem number one. You get the sword, but you only get the inactive version. Now the MVS, they're supposed to be red. But keep in mind, they're not always red. When they're in use, they turn into red. So here's the problem. You can choose to color this red and always have it on the hand. But if you put it, even though you do color it red, you could technically put it on the backpack, but that would not be color accurate. So that's the main problem. So you're going to be stuck with a gray sword if you don't color it, which it means it's inactive. But still, it's a pretty good weapon. It's pretty fun to pose with. It's just that the color is just not right. So I guess they're telling you to buy either another Vincent, or buy the commander type and then share the swords maybe. And then okay, so that's pretty much it for this one. And then, as I mentioned, you can take this part out, and then they give you the connected spear version, which is actually a much more fun weapon, if you ask me, or a more interesting weapon. You get this, and holds on tight, no problem at all. Oops, I think I gave it to the wrong hand, but you get the general idea. Yeah. So very stable connection. There's nothing actually wobbling around. That's something I would give a really high point on that. So, okay, so there's a little bit few more problems, but before that, let's talk about one more equipment that the Vincent is somehow known for, is the needle blazer. Unlike the Robot Damashi version, which it was just there on the elbow, this one actually is present as well, but more detailed as well. And it has this gimmick where you can move it out as if it's going to use the needle blazer. So I say that's a pretty fun and neat gimmick if you ask me. Okay, so before the comparison, so here's some slight problems. Number one was the MVS swords. They only give you the gray ones. Number two, they do give you the slash harkens, but unlike the Guren, which actually did have a slash harken, they did not actually they gave you a wire action for it, but this one they do not give you anything for the wire actions for the slash harkens. Oh, and I'll leave us a link of my Guren review on the description below, so you can guys check that out. And finally, well, not finally, but number 3, you do not get the open cameras like how the Robot Damash did. So I don't expect these to open, but I guess it would have been possible to give out a opened up version for this. Of course, I guess they would use stickers, but either way, that thing's missing. Not a big deal for me, but it could be a big deal to some people. And lastly, they don't give out the wings. As I mentioned, if you want to have the wings, you're gonna have to buy either the Commander or Conquesta and give its Air Cavalry backpack to it. But other than that, the model kit is very top-notch quality. I would definitely recommend those who really want to try this out. And here's some size comparison. Now keep in mind, this is a 1:35 scale, and a typical HG kit would be a 1:144 scale. So this definitely tells out they're around the same height, I guess. It's just the bulk that's different. So I guess this would tell us that the Knightmare frames are much more smaller than a typical mobile suit. And then finally, that was close. And then finally, we have the side-by-side comparison with the Robot Damash version. So personally, I think they did a good job on the color for the Robot Damash version. The gold color is very good. It can even stand on its own without the land spinners being on ground. So the only problem would be that the model kit is, I do love the stability. It's more stable looking. It's more solid. It's bigger. I do like that. The color I really don't mind. It's just that it's just lacking a few more extra details, like the swords that I just mentioned. Okay, but other than that, they did a pretty good job. I mean, I love the Vincent itself, so I guess I just have much more, emotion to these things. Okay, and I think that's pretty much it for the review. So if you actually do enjoy the Code Geass, and if you want to have a model kit of the Vincent, I would definitely recommend this. And as I mentioned before, the 1:35 scale Guren kit is also an amazing kit. So if you guys can try that, do try it as well. So anyway, that was it for the review. This was the review of the 1:35 scale Vincent model kit. Now even though it's a 2008 kit, it has a pretty good quality, and then the articulation is pretty good for its time. Of course, there's some areas lacking some how should I say, articulation, like it can't go to the side 90 degrees, which is pretty common with certain kits. And then the land spinners also spin, and they're actually, unlike the raw Damashi version, they are actually made out of rubber, so keep that in mind. Anyway, thank you for watching the review. This was the review of the 1:35 scale Vincent model kit. If you guys got any questions or requests, leave a comment below. I still have more stuff to buy and build and make reviews out, so please stay tuned. Until then, see you guys next time!